of the parak. We're in the middle of the story. So about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 11 to 12 lines up from the end of the chapter on 22a. So we got involved yesterday in a little bit halachas of Shabbos that you can't have your work done by a non-Jew on Shabbos. It doesn't matter if you ask him on Shabbos, before Shabbos, he can't do your work for you. So we had these, this Jew and a non-Jew went into a partnership together, and basically the background is that the non-Jew and the Jew, they made a deal that he'll work Sunday, he'll work Shabbos. The Jew will work Sunday, the non-Jew will work Shabbos. And they asked Rava if that's permitted. He said yes. Now we'll start from Eisvei. Eisvei Ravina LaRava. Ravina asked a difficulty to Rava. It says Yisrael a Jew and a non-Jew that accepted a field together in a partnership. Lo Yomar Yisrael tol chelkecha b'Shabbos. You should not say to the non-Jew, you do your work on Shabbos and I'll do mine on the weekday. It sounds like because if they went into a partnership together, so every day they have to do, each one has to do their share. So by telling the non-Jew to take all of Saturday, you're in essence saying, take part of my work. I'm supposed to be working 50% of the time. So by you taking all of Saturday, you're doing my work for me, and that looks like he's your messenger, and that's a problem. So, however, if the original deal was set up, you work Saturdays, I work Sundays, that's fine. Because that's not my work being done by a non-Jew. That's his own work being done on his own. That's fine. That's mutter. And then one more being bo lecheshvan aser. This is like its own statement a little bit. If they never made any deals. They just worked the field. And the way it worked out was the non-Jew happened to do Saturday, the Jew happened to do Sunday. No one commanded him to do anything else. That was just what they ended up doing. So at the end of the day, when they come to do an accounting, and he asked me, how much did you make on Shabbos? So why don't you, whatever you made on Shabbos, you take, and whatever I made on Shabbos, I take. So that seemingly is still a problem because now you revealed that really you wanted him to do your work for you on Shabbos. So you never made any deals. You went into a partnership, no stipulations, and he ended up working a few Saturdays. So and now you tell him, so you take that money for Saturday. So you're in essence showing that really, even though it was your work to do also, but you're happy that he did it for you. So that is going to be a problem. Okay, but what do you see? Going to a business, you can't tell the non-Jew to work on Shabbos. And Rava said you could. So that was the question on Rava. So to that, Rava was ichsif. He was embarrassed. He thought he got it wrong. L'sof igali milsa, but then it was revealed that these, what was the spice called again? The moriki, the saffron. What was the spice? They were these spice planters.
Oh, wow.
Saffron, right? Saffron. So, yeah. So it was revealed to Rava that really this partnership that he allowed them to make this deal, it ended up being that it actually was the original stipulation. It was the Galimils, the Hisnu Meikara Havu. Really, originally that was their deal. You work on Shabbos, I work on, not that they already were in a partnership, and now the Jew's asking the non-Jew to take Saturday for him. That's doing his work for him. So therefore, that's why it was permitted. Now, Rav Gvia Mibei Kasil seems to have a different version of the story of what happened with Rava, and it's not going to fit exactly with what we just said. What does he have? Amar Hanu Shesili, these people, what were they doing? Hanu Shesili the Orla Have. These planters were actually planted during the years of Orla, the first 3 years of a tree. You can't benefit from it. That's considered Orla. So Ovid Kol Chavim Akel Shani de Orla, the Yisrael Shani de Atera. The deal was the non-Jew works the first 3 years of Orla, that when a Jew cannot work, and a Jew works the following 3 years, or whatever, the years that are permissible. So now, his version of the story is also the Kame de Rava and Sharalahu. And Rava permitted it. He permitted the non-Jew to work during the years of Orla and the Jews to work on the other years. That was the deal that they made up. So nothing wrong with that. That's fine. You work those 3 years, I work those 3 years, and that's it. There's no problem. I'm not sending the non-Jew as my messenger to go do my work. You do the first 3 years, I do the next 3 years, and that was the partnership. And that was the story that happened with Rava, and he permitted it. So now, but says the Gemara, but Osvina Ravina L'Rava. We had earlier in the first version that it had to do with Shabbos. Ravina asked a question on Rava from Hilchos Shabbos. If the story with Rava was regarding Orla, so why is Ravina asking Rava from Shabbos? It doesn't really make sense. So he says, no. He wasn't asking a question. He rather was bringing a support. That which Ravina brought, that brisa from Shabbos, was just showing you that when you make an original deal of you work this day and I work that way, that day it's going to be permissible. And so too by Orla, the original deal was you work these years, I work those years, and therefore it is permissible. Says the Gemara, well then why was Rava embarrassed? If it's talking about Orla and Ravina is bringing us support, so what was Rava embarrassed about? We had earlier said Rava was embarrassed. So says the Gemara, Lo hayu dvar ma'olam. No, never happened. According to this version, no, never happened. He was never embarrassed. Okay? So, ibailu stama mai. So what if you just never made up any deal? If you make a deal originally, you work this day, you work that day, it's fine. If the original deal is we each are working equally together, then you can't tell a non-Jew to take over Saturday for you. What if you didn't make up any deal? You just went. Stop. No original makeup. And it happened to be the non-Jew started working Saturdays, and the Jew happened to start, only working on the other days of the week. So Tashma says the Brisa, Im hisnu mitchila mutter. If you make an original stipulation, then it's permissible. Sounds like if you did not stipulate originally, hasta ma'aser. Says the Gemara, yeah, what's the next line of that Brisa? Ema say for the next line is, Im bo lecheshbon aser. Only if you come and you show, when you by you telling the non-Jew, listen, what'd you make on Saturday? Okay, and what did I make on Sunday? You're showing that you're happy that he worked for you on Saturday, then it's a problem. But if you never did that, so hasta mamutter, then just without making anything up and without coming into a whole accounting where you're revealing that you're happy he worked for you on Saturday, that sounds like it's permissible. So you have a contradiction in implications. The beginning of the Brisa implies that it's going to be prohibited, and the end of the Brisa implies it's going to be permitted. So hastama mutter. Says the Gemara, you're right. Ela meha, from this Brisa, leika lamashuna. You can't derive anything from this Brisa because you have a contradiction in implications, and therefore you don't know exactly what the halacha is with stam. What happens in the case of stam? So yeah. So Hadron Allah lifnei eidehen. Okay, so we finished that parak. Now, next parak we had this case actually not so long ago. Ein ma'amidin behema b'pundikosh of the cover. You cannot leave your animal alone in the lobbies of the idol worshippers. Why? Because they are suspect for doing bestiality, and therefore, what's wrong? So what's wrong? Well, they're forbidden to have bestiality. Part of their 7 laws of Bnei Noach is you can't have bestiality. So you giving an animal to a non-Jew, you're in essence helping him violate a prohibition of bestiality, of sodomy, and that's a problem of lifnei ira. You can't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person, even though here it's not for sure he's going to do it. But even if he's suspect to do it, you can't go and give him an animal. So that's one. Two is al tisyached isha imahen. A lady should not be secluded with them because we're suspect that they're going to violate her inappropriately, obviously. V'lo yisyached other, and a regular person should not go and seclude himself with them. That's because because they might kill you. That's just, they can't kill, so it's probably also a stumbling block. You're putting your life in danger, so better not to seclude yourself with them. So now, according to the Mishnah, there's a clear worry that the idol worshiper is going to sodomize the animal, is going to be involved in sodomization. Now let's see if that's going to hold true, because it says v'raminhu lo kinehen behema lekorban. You're allowed to buy an animal from the idol worshiper and use it as a korban. You can bring it as a sacrifice. And what do you see? Ve'ein choshishin lo mishum. So 4 things. Since you can buy an animal from the idol worshiper, you're not worried for 4 things. Lo mishum rova. You're not worried for bestiality. The lo mishum nirba. Either he had relations with the animal, or nirba he was passive. The animal had relations with him. The lo mishum muktzah doesn't mean Shabbos. It means muktzah means set aside for idol worship. You're not worried that this animal has been designated for their upcoming holiday to be served as an idol, as a sacrifice. Velo mishum nevad, and you're not worried that he's already been used as an idol. He's already been somehow used as an idol. So you see, you can buy an animal from the idol worshiper, and these 4 worries, 2 of them being sodomization, 2 of them being idol worship, you're not worried about. So let's see. Bishlama muktzah v'nevad. I understand muktzah. It was set aside for idol worship. Or ne'evad. It was actually used for an idol. So im isa de akte v'im isa de palche. If it was set aside, if it was bowed down to, if it was used, so then lohaya mazvanle. Why would he be selling it? He's not going to sell his animal. This is his idol animal. The idol worshiper set it aside for idol worship. Why is he going and selling it to Shmerel? Right? Doesn't make sense. So therefore, the fact that he's selling it shows you that it wasn't set aside for idol worship, and it has not been used as his idol, as the object of his idol worship. So that we understand. But what about sodomization? Ella roiva v'nir balachosh. Why are you not worried about sodomization? Our Mishnah says you cannot seclude the animal with them, and yet the Brisa says you can buy the animal from them. If you're really worried about sodomization, which then you cannot use as a sacrifice, so then you should not be able to buy from them and use it as a sacrifice. You should be worried for that. So we have a few answers, a little bit spread out. But Amar Rav Tachlifa, Amar Rav Shila bar Ravina, Mishmei de Rav, so says Rav Tachlifa, in the name of Rav Shila, in the name of the son of Avina, in the name of Rav, Ovid kol chavim chas al behemto. The idol worshiper has pity on his animal. Why? Shalo te'aker. It should not become sterile. Apparently, sodomization sterilizes the animal, and the idol worshiper is he wants to make he has mercy on his animal. Now, why does he have mercy on his animal? Probably because he wants to make money. Right. So it's not that he's an animal lover; it's that he wants to make money. So he's not going to, if he's in the selling animal business, he's not going to go and sodomize the animals because then he's not going to make any money. So says the Gemara, that's fine for one breed, hateinach nikevus, for female animals. That I understand. He's not going to go have relations with a female animal because he wants to sell it. But zicharim ma'ikal meimar, what about male animals? That doesn't answer our question. Shouldn't you still be worried that he'll have relations with the male animal? So, and I guess that doesn't sterilize it. So Amar of Kahana, Hoel umachishin bebasar. No, but the male animals, they get much weaker. Sodomization weakens them. They become much weaker. And therefore, same kind of idea, he's not going to do that because he wants to sell them. So either you're sterilizing the animal or it's going to get weakened through sodomization. I don't know exactly how it works, but I guess.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably better to not Google it. Yeah. So Ella Hadatanya. So that's why you should not leave the animal with them, because it sounds like you're going to be helping them do an Aveira. On the other, when it comes to sales and purchasing from them, so that's fine. So Ella, but what about the following Bryce? So Hadatanya Lokan Behema Miroin Shalahen. You can buy an animal from their shepherds. Why aren't you worried? Lechosh Dilma Ravala Roa Shalahen. Maybe the shepherd sodomized the animal. Lechosh Dilma Ravala. So Roa Shalahen Misyare Mishum Hefset Schar. No, the shepherd's worried he's going to lose out money if he sodomizes it. So therefore, we're not worried that he maybe had that he sodomized an animal, because he's also worried for his finances. I guess that if he's a shepherd, he's going to cause the animal damage. He's watching someone shepherd. If he sodomized it, it's going to be less than what the guy gave him. He gave him $1 million animal. Now it's down to 500,000. Therefore, he's worried he's not going to He's worried for that, and therefore he's not going to sodomize it.
How does one know that that's happening?
That's the question. Are we worried or are we not worried?
Yeah, but
I see.
I think it's effect on the animal itself.
I see, when you buy it, how do you know?
Yeah.
I guess if it's so you can't see if it's sterile.
Right. So it's not so much a question of you buying a sterile animal. The idolaters and the shepherds aren't going to sodomize their own animals because they know it's going to damage them.
Right.
And so
But Jul's asking, just tell the guy who comes to buy from the store, it's fine. I guess.
No, because animal won't reproduce.
It won't reproduce, or it's weaker. I guess if you're in the animal business, you know. Yeah, you know. Yeah, you could check. I don't know, you know. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I've had animal for 5 months already. It hasn't reproduced. What happened over here? And they're gonna come with a whole court case on you. So yeah. So Ella, how about the following, Bryce? Ella Hadatanya ain mosrin behema leroa shelahen. You shouldn't give your animal to their shepherds. So 1 second, why can't you give your animal to their shepherds? Sounds like because you're worried he's going to sodomize the animal. But didn't we just say he's not going to because he's worried that it's going to go down in value? So lema roa shelahen misyar mishum hefsid scharo. So now the Gemara differentiates between people that are in the sodomization business and people that are not. So their own animals, when they're shepherding for their own animals, inu diyadi bahadadi, so to see, they're scared. The ones, this answers your question a little bit. The ones in the sodomization business, you know, the idol worshippers, they in the sodomy business, they know the animals. So the guy's scared to have relations with it because his chaver is gonna catch him. But Anan, we nice pure Jews don't know of these things, so then he's not going to be scared to sodomize it, and then give it back to us, and we're not going to know exactly what the difference is. So Amar Rabba Hainu de Amri Inshi Michtava Glala Baza Ragla Bechavre Yada. There's a saying that the marble, it's scared of its if its writer, of its inscriber, because it's going to write on it. So too a slanderer is scared of his fellow slanderers, because they know when you're in the slandering business, when you're in the slandering business, you know the games. You know how to trick people. So therefore, your friend's going to catch you in the act. So too, that's just a saying which brings out this point that the people that are involved in the sodomy business, they know, and they're going to catch their friend for ruining the animal. If that's true, so then what about the zicharim minikevis loy nizvan dechayshinan dila marbele? You should not be able to buy male animals from female salesmen or saleswomen because you should be worried for sodomization. So yeah, dilma marvele ilave. So we say no. So now why are you not worried? Why could you buy a male animal from a female? Aren't you worried there is sodomization? Says the Gemara, given the migriba. So since if the lady would have relations with the animal, it's going to follow it around. It's going to become attached to it. So therefore, she doesn't want that to happen to her. So therefore, you could sell the animal. Now, on this idea of attaching oneself, right? So our malsalo tarbi kalva. So a widow should not raise a dog. Okay. Tishri bar beirav ushpiza, and she shouldn't host a nice young Torah scholar at her residence. So now, bishlama bar beirav sneila. Your average young Torah scholar is a very modest person. So therefore, if you're going to end up, it sounds like maybe seducing him or things like that, no one's going to know about it because he's a very modest guy. So therefore, to prevent that, don't host him at your residence. That wouldn't be good. But Ella Kalba, why can't you host a dog? Why can't you raise a dog if you're a widow? Why can't you have a dog at your house? What are you worried about? Maybe she'll have sodomization with the dog. Kavan de migraba mirtasa. You're not going to do that because it's going to follow you around everywhere. It's going to attach itself to you. You'll never be able to get rid of it. So says Gemara, no, not really. Why? Kavan de chishadile umtsa umatzaka basrei Meimer Amri Inshi Hadamasrich Abasrei Mishum Umta Dekamasrich. Since the animal, you're going to throw it, I think, the raw meat, and it's going to go after it. So the reason why the animal is so attached to you is because it wants more food, right? Like, and it happened that there's all the time. There's cats everywhere. You're going to feed the cat once, and then it's going to come back every time. So therefore, when people see the animal attached to you, they're not going to think it's because you had relations with it. Rather, they're going to think it's because of the meat. It wants more food from you. So therefore, you're not going to have any reason not to have relations with the dog. Because what are you worried about? Your own what do you call it? Your own reputation? That people are gonna see, that's following her. She must have relations with the dog. No, they're gonna assume that maybe he wants more food. Okay. So nikevos etel nikevos. Why can't you give female animals to females? Our Mishnah says that you can't seclude your animal with any idol worshiper. It doesn't differentiate even women. So put a female animal with a female woman, with a female. So my time and why can't you not seclude them? So the idol worshippers often have relations with their friends' wives, who is a knock on the door, no one's home, but guess who's home? Betty the cow. So umotes a behema verova. He's going to, instead of having relations with his friend's wife, he's going to have relations with the animal. So therefore, giving it a female animal to a female in seclusion is still potentially causing them to be over in Aveira. The Bais Ema, or another one, Afilu Motza, even if he found his friend's wife and he's gonna give into that Yitzhahara, to that lust, Afilu Motza Namirova, he's still going to have relations with the animal. We're still worried for that. Damar Mar, this is very interesting. Damar Mar Chaviva Alein Behemta Yisrael. It's an interesting thing. The idol worshippers, it's more beloved to them, a Jewish animal, Yoser Minishosein, more than their own wives. That's very interesting. So it's like hard for us to understand this culture, right? Relations with animals, it's like,
idolaters at the time were so degenerate.
Yeah.
They would want bestiality.
That's right.
Women.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think it's a limit, no? Like, So Damar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan, this is one of the, I don't know, top 10, but this idea is top 10 of our probably Jewish philosophy coming up. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Bisha Sheba Nachash Al Chava. So the snake sounds like it came upon Chava. Does it literally mean they had relations? Is it allegorical? The point is that it put into the Hitil Bazuma, this word Zuma, filth. Filth here means physical and spiritual filth. Tremendous degradation that happened after that Aveira, and that was due to the filth, so to speak, that the snake put into the world. So therefore, that's what causes the idol worshippers to to have relations, to have this tremendous it sounds like desire for the animals. So says the Gemara, Ihachi Yisrael Nami. Okay, but why don't Jews have that? Why are you worried about the Jews having bestiality? Said no, Yisrael Shamdu al Har Sinai. Yisrael was that Har Sinai, and one of the incredible things that happened at Har Sinai was we reached such a lofty level to a level that was equal to before Adam and Chava did that Avera. There was a world of before that spiritual filth that entered the world. Paska Zuamasa. That stopped. So Obed Kochavim Shalom Du al Har Sinai. They were not there at Har Sinai. Lo Paska Zuamasa. That filth remains from them, and therefore they have these incredible desires that even for a Jewish animal that have relations more than their own wives. Now, it's interesting because you would think that by Cheta Egel, the golden calf, so we definitely lost what we gained at Har Sinai. But it sounds like from here we didn't fully lose it, because the Gemara is bringing up proof that we don't have the same thing because we're at Har Sinai. We lost it. Okay, but we didn't lose it all the way. That's what So yeah, we still maintain a certain level of purity thanks to Har Sinai. So okay, so Ibailuhu. Okay, fine. So now this is all animals, behemoths. So domesticated animals. What about birds? So Ibailuhu Ophos Mai. So can you seclude birds with your local idol worshiper or not? So, Tashma Adam Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mishum Rabbi Chanina. Ani Reisi. One time I saw in Obed Kochavim, an idol worshiper, Shalakach Avaz Min Ashuk. He took. I saw him take a bird. He bought a bird from the marketplace, and Rava Chanka Salav Achla. He had relations with the bird. He choked the bird. He roasted the bird, and he served it for dinner that night. Yeah. So you see, yeah, we should be worried. People do this. So, so it's like so hard for us to imagine it.
Yeah,
So it's like so. Yeah. The Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Midifti. I did have a Rebbe one time that said it was around. I think I don't know exactly what it was when Trump first became president, so whatever, 10 years ago. So that the world was heading in a way, just, we lost much morality in the world. He said, don't be shocked if in a matter of time bestiality is going to become normal. He said, because the Sahara, it just goes. The world is going like this. He said, just don't be shocked. I remember that was like but you see here that the world got to that level at some point in the time of the Gemara. I saw a Rabbi Echad. So I saw one time an Arab. Shalakach Yerech min Ashuk. He took a Yerech, a thigh from the Shuk, I guess of a regular, it sounds like of a regular animal, and he engraved in it, I guess, an area to have like make believe. Yeah, but the animal's dead. It's just taking the thigh, but he made an opening, and Rava Tzalav Achla, relations with it, roasted it, and served it for dinner. That doesn't really prove our point about the bird so much. Maybe it's just brought parenthetically. Okay, so that's that. Now back to our original question from the first line of the Amma that we just finished. Are you worried or are you not worried for sodomization? The Mishnah says you are worried, yet sales are allowed. Ravina has another answer. Lo kasha halachatchila hadi avad. He says no. You lechatchila originally you can't give them because there is a concern that he might have relations. However, after the animal's already with him, you could buy it from him because we're not actually worried that he had relations. So it's a tricky thing. To give the animal to him, there's some level of concern, therefore you have to stay away. Once he has it, to actually buy the animal from him, there we're not concerned. We're not actually concerned that much that we're going to forbid you to buy the animal from him and use it as a korban. So we're like a middle level concern. We're concerned enough that don't give it to him because you might be assisting someone doing an aveira. But to buy from him, we're not that concerned. Says the Gemara, where do you find this distinction? If you're worried, you're worried. This middle ground distinction. You're worried a little bit, but not enough. The Tanan, I'll bring you a Mishnah. It says a woman, our Mishnah, a woman should not be secluded with them because we're worried they're going to have relations with her. And yet it says in a brisa, a woman who was captured by the idol worshippers, al yedei mammon, for mammon, sounded like for an outstanding debt. She couldn't pay back, or he couldn't pay back, so they took her. Muteris labayla. When she gets freed, she gets ransomed, she's permitted to her husband. I don't understand. You can't seclude her with an idol worshiper. What are you worried about? He's going to have relations with her. But yet, if she's captured by the same idol worshiper, she's permitted to her husband. And if she would have had relations with him, she'd be forbidden to her husband. So now either, Rashi points out too, either we're talking about the lady is going to give in to her desires willingly and have relations with him, or we're talking about a Kohen, the wife of a Kohen, who even if she is raped, is forbidden to her husband. Because if a regular woman is raped, she is not forbidden to her husband. It's only if she does it willingly, but if the wife of a Kohen gets raped, then she is forbidden. So what do you see from here? So she's permitted to her husband. But Aiden and Fashos, it's interesting, if she's taken not for money, but for her life, then Asura Labaila. Then we really are worried. It sounds like, it's different interpretations, I think, but it sounds like if she has the death sentence, so then either they're going to be more light with her, or either she'll give in willingly. It's different. So, but that's fine. We'll get back to that in a second. But what do you see? But she's just taken for ransom. She's permitted to her husband. You see that the explanation is if she was taken and she's there already, we're not actually worried something happened to her when she was taken for ransom. And yet in our Mishnah, you can't have her seclude herself with somebody. So you see this middle level concern. Enough concern, don't give her don't seclude herself. She should not seclude herself with the guy. On the other hand, if she did and she comes back, she'll be permitted to her husband. So says the Gemara, hold on. Who says that's the explanation for why a woman who's taken for ransom is permitted to her husband? Maybe mimai dilma laolam emalach afilu di avad namilo. Really, we are concerned, and if we are concerned, really, we are concerned, and therefore, really, she should be prohibited to her husband even when taken for ransom. That should be the halacha. What's the difference of a halacha? Hainu taima dimisyari mishum hefsid mamono. Yeah, he wants $1 million. Interesting. He wants $1 million for this lady. Now, if he has relations with her and he seduces her, he's not getting his $1 million. So he'd rather not give in to his Yetzirah and to get the money that he wants. So yeah, Teda, I'll prove it to you. Dekatani Seifa. Look what it says. Aide nefashos asur lebayla. Look, the other case where she's taken as a life sentence, she is prohibited to her husband because we are worried that either she was seduced or she was raped, she's the wife of a Kohen, but we are worried that the person had relations with her. The Sulamidi. Nothing more to discuss. That's the so we rejected this, or there's no proof from here. This idea of this middle ground. I don't know if it gets rejected, but it's not. There's no proof, and really we are worried that she might have relations with somebody. Rebbe Padas Amar Lo Kasha. Rebbe Padas says in a third answer, we had giving versus selling, we had originally versus post facto, now a third one. Lo Kasha Ha Rebbe. So the difference is it depends. Different opinions. Ha Rebbe Eliezer Ha Rabbanan. There's two. These Brisa and Mishnah are not a contradiction. Rather, it reflects two opinions. Who are these two opinions? Rebbe Eliezer and the Rabbanan. What did they say? Let's see. The Tanan Gabe Paras Chatas. We have a Mishnah regarding a para aduma. It's called a paras chatas, the animal of the sin offering, but it means really a para aduma. Rebbe Eliezer Omer Eina Nikachas Min Ovdei Kochavim. He says you are not allowed to purchase a para aduma from the idol worshippers. The Chachamim Matirin, and the Chachamim allow you. So what is this machlokas? What are they arguing about? Can you or can you not buy a para aduma from an idol worshipper? This is their machlokas. No, Rebbe Eliezer Savar Chayshin on the Revia. He's worried that they might have sodomized the animal, and therefore it's prohibited for you to be used as a para aduma, and that's going to be our Mishnah. That's Rebbe Eliezer. The Rabbanon Savri and the rabbis hold Lo Chayshin on the Revia. We're not worried for sodomization, and therefore you could buy it. Oh, so that is the first attempt. Says the Gemara, hold on. Mimai, Dilma, perhaps I have another explanation, and then your whole proof is thrown out. Dilma de Kulama Loichashin. Maybe, and no one's worried the guy's going to have relations with the paraduma. The Hacha Hainu Taima, what's the reason why Rabbi Eliezer does not allow you to buy the red heifer, the paraduma, from the idol worshiper? Separate reason. The Hacha Hainu Taima, the Rabbi Eliezer, that's because of Rav Yehuda Amarav. What did he say? The Amar of Yidam Harav, he niach a totally separate halacha. There's a halacha by a paraduma, it can't carry any yoke. It could not have been worked at all. Even putting a burden on it is considered it. As Rashi said, the Torah says in Bamidbar, we had this Parsha Chukas. It says, Asher lo Allah aleha ol. You can't put any burden on it. Interesting. One of the stipulations of being a paraduma, it can never have put ol on it. Couldn't have worked. So work here means carrying something. So the question here is, are we worried that the idol worshiper ever put down some luggage on it to schlep for him or not? How much of a concern is that? So sakin pasla, putting on it a sack is gonna invalidate it. It's gonna invalidate the paraduma. Uba egla achatimshok. But now egla arufa is the cat that we break the neck if we find the dead corpse outside the city. There's also an invalidation, but that's only when you actually pull it. Because I think there's a pasuk in the Torah that says until you pull it, asher mashach you have to actually pull it. So good morning. So okay, fine. But what do you see? That Rabbi Yehuda Marav is worried. He invalidates the red heifer if you place any sack on it. So now Rabbi Eliezer is worried for this. So Mar Savar Chayshinon. Rabbi Eliezer is worried that the idol worshiper might have placed something on the red heifer and therefore is going to be prohibited. And the Chachamim hold we're not worried about that. That would be the second explanation of what the dispute: can you or can you not buy a red heifer from an idol worshiper? Says the Gemara, that's not a good explanation because red heifers they're very hard to find, and if you find one, it's very, very expensive. So if it's a smart businessman over here, Mr. Idol Worshipper, he's not going to risk. Yeah. Now here's your question again: like, how's the Jew gonna know? So you're worried or you're not worried? So you go based off assumptions.
Somebody once in the class said
Yeah.
the animal acts differently after it has been sodomized.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So here it's the red heifer. I think that would answer your question. Not saying that by sodomization, the animal acts differently. Here we're. Oh yeah. So here we're not worried about him putting anything on the animal, just his backpack on the animal, because if the Jew's ever going to find out somehow, he's going to check the footage and see that it was placed on it. The guy's going to lose millions of dollars. So Umar Savar Lo Chashina. So Lo Sakadaitak Mishum Nicha Purta Lo Mafsid Tuva. So because of a little bit of work just to hold the luggage, he's not going to lose out so much money. So that makes sense. Hachanami lema mishum hana'a purta lo mafsid tuva. So maybe say the same thing according to Rabbi Eliezer, because of a little bit of enjoyment of sodomization meaning back to our case, with sodomization, you're lowering the value of the animal. So maybe for a little enjoyment, the guy wouldn't lose out, and yet we see that we are worried he might sodomize the animal even at his own expense. So we say no. Hasam yitzur tokfo. No, there comes a sodomization with the animal. His yetzer hara is too big. Even at the expense of losing money, he'll give into his evil inclination, and he will have relations with the animal. As opposed to money, putting your luggage on the animal, that he's not going to do at the expense of a lot of money. Yeah. So okay. So now it says the Gemara not happy with this. Maybe no one's worried for sodomization, and the reason that Rabbi Eliezer prohibits you from buying the animal from the idol worshiper is for a different reason. The hainu time of Rabbi Eliezer kedetani Shila, like Shila taught. Okay, what did Shila teach? The tani Shila my time of Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason for Rabbi Eliezer? Because of the verse in Parshas Chukas. Daber el bnei Yisrael vayikru elecha bnei Yisrael. So it says, Daber el bnei Yisrael, tell the Jewish people, vayikru elecha paraduma. They should purchase a paraduma. Vayikru elecha. So it says the Gemara, bnei Yisrael yikachu, ve'ena ha'ovdei kochavim yikachu. You should only buy it, it sounds like, from a Jew, and you shall not buy it from the idol worshiper. There's a whole new explanation. Rabbi Eliezer understands that the Torah is telling you not to buy a paraduma from a non-Jew. That's going to be, sounds like a biblical violation. So maybe that's his reasoning. So says the Gemara, not happy with that either. Lo sakadaita, don't say that. Why not? The Katani Seifa, it says at the end of that brisa, v'chein haya Rabbi Eliezer posel v'chol hakarbanos kulan. Rabbi Eliezer didn't just prohibit a red heifer from being bought by the idol worshippers. He prohibited all korbanos. Any animal you want to buy and use it for a korban, you cannot buy that animal from an idol worshipper. That's like Sheila taught. So all Sheila taught us was that by a red heifer, there's a prohibition to buy it from an idol worshipper. However, it's interesting because famous story in Kiddushin by Dama ben Nesina, the non-Jew, who someone came to him and to buy his jewels off him, but his father was sleeping. He was under his pillow, and he didn't want to wake up his father out of honoring your parents. So the Gemara says, how great is honoring your parents? And he got rewarded the next year because they needed a red heifer, and he grew one, he had one, they bought it off, and he made a lot of money. So it's interesting. Either he wasn't like Sheila, who says you can't buy from an idol worshiper, or maybe he wasn't an idol worshiper, he was just a non-Jew, righteous non-Jew. So either way, so Bishlama Paraksiv Bakicha, But ella kulu karbanos kicha ksibo. It only says by the cow, by the red heifer. It says kicha. You shouldn't buy it. It says that word. You shouldn't buy it from the non-Jews. But ella kulu karbanos kicha ksibo. It doesn't say that word by any other sacrifice. Doesn't sound like that's a biblical prohibition that you cannot purchase it from idol worshippers or from non-Jews. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer doesn't sound like he's going with Sheila. Okay, maybe we have 3 minutes. Maybe we'll stop here.
It sounds from this that